I'm here with a couple quick safety tips on how to keep you and your family safe this Halloween season. Never try to scare unassuming trick-or-treaters when they approach your door, as you will undoubtedly be punched in the head by a large black man. Watch out for rapists. Rapists can be notably harder to spot this time of year, as they are undoubtedly dressed as something other than a middle-aged man in a Hawaiian shirt and Coke bottle glasses. Therefore, this Halloween season, treat everyone in a costume as if they are about to cornhole you and your firstborn. I know I am.
This is
the Hardcast.
Season's greetings from the Hardcast. I'm your host, Chris, and today I'm joined by Patrick.
Rick.
Tonight's review/discussion is a two-parter episode where we will be discussing Trick or Treat and Drag Me to Hell. Trick or Treat was written and directed by Michael Dougherty and is an anthology of 4 Halloween-related scary stories. So Patrick, did Trick or Treat leave your sack feeling like it was about to burst, or did it smash your jack-o'-lantern to pieces?
It made my sack burst. What I liked about the movie was that it really did bring back that kind of feeling you got from watching those old movies like Halloween and all those, even not Halloween, but even those weird movies that really didn't really matter what their names were because they were so kind of weird.
Kind of like generic Halloween stuff from the 80s.
But there was something about them that you remember that made you feel good. It was kind of...
You know what kind of reminded me of, just a little bit, was, you remember all the Halloween stuff in E.T.?
Yeah.
Even if you look at the costumes, the movie felt kind of timeless. There was nobody running around in a Dragon Ball Z outfit or a Mighty Morphin Power Rangers outfit. It was all the traditional costumes like a princess or ghost or a zombie or anything like that. So it felt very timeless. Like you didn't know what year this was supposed to be set in, except for the cell phones.
Yeah, and that too. But it also was the feeling of, it was kind of horror, it was kind of suspense, it was kind of some humor. It was just a nice mix that you really don't see anymore. It's just a whole bunch of horror, like a Saw thing where it's just serious.
A lot of gore, but no story or something like that.
Yeah, it's a weak story. And the great thing about this movie is that all the stories tie in, and they're all kind of related. And it takes place in this little town, and it's that aspect of it is kind of fun.
Yeah, we should mention that if you have not seen either Trick or Treat or Drag Me to Hell, I would recommend you go out and see them. You should go out and see them before you listen to this podcast, because there will be some spoilers. It's just the only way we're going to be able to discuss it fully and give our scores. If you think you're going to watch those movies, shut this podcast off now and go watch them and then come back and listen to us later.
I guess I'll talk about the beginning of the movie. You see this couple walking down the street after basically probably getting drunk. We really don't know why they were out other than probably seeing the parade. They're walking home. They get home, and the wife is picking up the lantern or whatever, and she's
already putting away all the Halloween stuff, even though technically Halloween isn't over yet.
Yeah, and even her husband's, you're supposed to wait. And she's like, what are you talking about? You were going to clean this shit up. He blows out the candle, which find out later is a big no-no.
Yeah, big no-no. Against Halloween tradition.
Yeah, it's not Halloween etiquette. I found what's funny is that he was all, why don't we go inside and have a little fun? She's like, well, why don't you go help yourself, watch a movie, I'll come in later.
He was putting the moves on her. They're married already. She was tired and all that, but he was trying to get her to go in and have sex with her and forget about cleaning up. And she goes, okay, fine, let me clean up and then go ahead and put the tape on, like it's a routine with them. They have the tape they watch, and then that gets in the mood. That was the funny part, because that's what made me feel like the movie was in the 80s, was because he actually went inside and put a fucking VHS tape in a VCR. It wasn't a DVD, it wasn't a Blu-ray, it was a VHS tape.
And he bothered to write something else on it. I said nature show or something.
Yeah.
And I was like, you don't do that shit unless you're ashamed of it. You're like, maybe I'll just market something else so nobody knows as my private porn collection. And now, like today, porn is a normal thing. So I was kind of like, oh yeah, I have porn. So over there. So he goes, and she starts to clean up, pulling stuff. I don't know how many of those.
She had all these fake ghosts up, and so she's pulling down all the bed sheets.
She must have had like 100 or something, because she kept pulling them down. And I'm thinking to myself, this is a fucking huge yard. And
I think it just was because the whole reveal thing, what's going to be under the sheet. And on top of that, I think Michael Dougherty, the director and the guy who wrote it, he probably loves the sound of sheets getting pulled down, because he kept having it over and over and over. It's like a fetish for him or something.
Yeah, she's like a box or something, and it's shaking.
I think it was a basket that she was storing all the sheets in, and then it starts to move like there's something in there. And then I guess she lifts it up, and well, you take it from there.
She lifts it up, and all of a sudden it goes, oh my god, she gets attacked by something. What's funny about this scene is that she gets attacked, whatever attacks her with a half-bitten...
Giant lollipop thing.
Yeah, giant, yeah.
Like old school lollipop, the ones that were flat in a circle, not a sphere.
And the whole time she's underneath the sheet, and of course these kids see something going on underneath the sheet. But then they see this blood splatter, and they're like, "Oh my god!" Like, "Holy shit!" And they like run away. and then you see her body start to move, and something's dragging her back into the yard. Of course, the husband, you see him laying down on the bed. I guess he finished by himself. He's all tired and
well, he passed out basically.
Yeah, and he gets up and he's like, "Oh, where's my pussy?" And he gets up and he goes out and he's like, "Where's my wife?" And he starts, I guess she didn't finish, so he starts pulling down the sheets. She became one of those.
She became a scarecrow, basically.
Yeah.
Or like a ghost. She just became part of the display, part of the ornamentation of the yard for the Halloween festivities.
And the lollipop was in her mouth, and it's quite a sight for the beginning of the movie. It really strikes and shows you this is.
Yeah, it sets the tone for the movie,
and that's pretty much the opening of the movie.
It gives you a strong sense of this is a Halloween movie through and through. This is a horror movie that's all about Halloween, as opposed to the actual movie called Halloween, which is just a bunch of killings happening on Halloween night. But this movie is actually all about the traditions of Halloween, the things that go on, the lore, the mythology. It does have that going for it. It's kind of unique. You want to talk about the principal? I guess that's the first story after the opening, with the kid knocking off all the jack-o'-lanterns and being a big brat. Well, the kid from Bad Santa.
It was kind of funny to watch the kid, because after watching Bad Santa, you have this idea that, he's just a sweet little kid, but in this movie, he's such an asshole.
Yeah.
And I really don't feel that bad for him, what happens to him, which I'll explain. So he's going through the neighborhood, and he's dragging this bag full of candy, which is covered in mud and shit, and whatever's on the ground, because I guess he doesn't care. He's going through the neighborhood knocking down jack-o'-lanterns.
Basically just being a fat-ass brat.
Which is, again, a bad Halloween etiquette.
Yes.
So he's walking through and destroying the jack-o'-lanterns, pushing them each one down, until he gets to one house, the house belonging to the school's principal. And the guy who's playing the principal he was awesome.
Yeah, he was. His performance was quite good. And I know that actor. I don't know his name, but he's one of those guys that if you see him, you're like, oh, I've seen him in a million different things as small roles, but usually playing like goody two-shoe type characters or guys who are kind of nerdy or whatever. But in this movie, he actually steals the show in quite a few of the scenes and has a lot of character, and he's kind of a crazy dude. It's fun to watch.
And this guy is quite taken with Halloween. He's obviously got something for Halloween. And I guess it's the only one time of the year where he feels he's in control, opposed to being at the school where kids basically create problems for him.
All year round, he feels like he has to give and give and give to these kids. And then this is the one day of the year where he gets to take from them.
And speaking of taking, and then so the kids, well, why don't you come up here? And everything he says has a double meaning, which is awesome. Everything he says could be taken as negative or evil. Why don't you sit over here and eat the candy?
Yeah, and he's making the kid very uneasy, but he's also making us uneasy because we don't know. Is he playing around? Is he for real? What's going to happen?
It confuses you because you're like, okay, no, nothing's going to happen. And all of a sudden the kid starts to puke up the chocolate.
Yeah, after eating a chocolate bar that the principal has given to him.
It shows the principal's going, oh yeah, and one of the traditions of Halloween, because it shows how obsessed he is with it, is to always check your candy. And the kids just...
But I don't see how he could really check for that, because it was poison that he injected into the bar.
The needle.
There's not really any way to check for that.
Now, traditional legend is that razor blades.
Which they do have in this movie.
I think that would be easier to check, opening the candy, bending it or something. You said, how do you know, like, if you put laxatives or whatever the hell or poison or cyanide or whatever. Anyway, the kid's puking on the steps, which is a ton of chocolate.
You think at first that, yeah, the principal put something in there to make him throw up, but when he doesn't stop puking, and then he starts puking up blood, and then he kind of passes out, then you're like, oh, okay. Then the principal takes his body and drags him inside the house, which is funny because even though I think at this point the kid's kind of already dead, but he's still puking all over the principal, except it's mostly blood.
Burping and like, bleh, bleh. It's all over, and the guy's, it's like starting to regret it.
It's fucking up his shit so bad. And then people are ringing on his doorbell to get candy. It's a funny scene because he's having a hell of a time dragging this fat badass kid, and the kid's throwing up all over him, and he has to deal with trick-or-treaters. And then when he opens the door, the kids freak out, but they're just kidding because they're like, "Oh, what a great costume, Principal Wilkins!" And he's like, "Oh, yeah," because he's covered in blood. And then he just gives them the candy, and then they leave.
Yeah, and then they leave, and this little kid with a sack over his head.
This is like the first time we actually get to see the character of Sam, right?
Sam, yeah. And he's, I can't forget, to give you candy, which is also, you have to give kids candy. You have to. The rule. So he's, don't forget your candy. And the kid, this is a little Easter egg or whatever, I guess you could say, the kid grabs the chocolate, the bar, but it's also one of the bars you see later on.